Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the University of Michigan School of Public Health MS and PhD Prospective Student Webinar. As we're just getting acclimated with the space today, please feel free to share in the chat what degree and department you're interested in, as well as where you're logging in from. It's always helpful to have a little bit of a sense before we get started, so please take a moment to do that. We definitely appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself before we get started. And we're really excited this afternoon because this is our first MS and PhD specific webinar hosted by the University of Michigan School of Public Health. And collectively, we've all been really excited to see how much interest and engagement there is around this topic. So thank you for making it a priority to get to know a little bit more about us this afternoon. As you just heard, we are recording today's session. So if you do have to hop out early, please know that we are recording and you will be able to review this information at a later date. My name is Mary Beth Carroll, and I am the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions within the Office for Student Engagement and Practice. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm really glad to be speaking with all of you today. It's actually one of the favorite parts of my job. Prospective students, especially those wanting to contribute to making the world a better place, is always really inspiring and exciting to see. So thank you for that. I am joined today by members of our recruitment and admissions team, Joyce and Carla, who work as our admissions processing specialists, and Sarah, who works as our admissions coach. They're answering questions in the chat throughout this time in the main breakout session right now. We also have some of our current student admissions ambassadors in there too. So if you do have questions, please pop those in the chat. They will be putting relevant links throughout the discussion during my first little part at the beginning here, as well as when I turn it over to the Rackham Graduate School. So please engage in the chat if you are interested in that opportunity. So here's a little bit about what you can expect during our time together. Again, if you're just joining us, feel free to share in the chat your department and degree of interest, as well as where you're logging in from. Please, if you could also make sure that you're on mute. If you're not participating in the conversation right now, that would help others as they're trying to engage as well. As I mentioned, we have the Rackham Graduate School here today, Donna Hubrick, who works as our Director of Admissions and Academic Records and Dissertations, and I'll be turning over to her in just a moment. She's here to provide a brief overview of the Rackham Graduate School process and will provide some guidance around that. In addition, she also will be answering a little bit about your questions as well. After that, you'll be able to visit your department and degree of interest room in a breakout space, and you'll see all the breakout rooms pop up on your screen there when Sarah enables that function. During that time, you'll be able to move from room to room and ask any questions that might be on your mind, so we would certainly invite you to do that. But first, I'm going to go through just a little bit more information about the School of Public Health and the University of Michigan. And if you haven't visited us, here's a beautiful picture of the School of Public Health here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. If you haven't been to Michigan, we certainly would invite you to come in and actually take in the space, walk around the building, walk around the city, and take in the sights and sounds to see what it really is like. So let's dive in a little bit and talk about the School of Public Health. If you are interested in research, our portfolio is about $80 million a year. And for a little more context, we are one of 19 different schools that are composed of the University of Michigan. Within quite a few of our programs, there is flexibility to take courses outside of the School of Public Health, really allowing our students to tailor their degree to what they want it to be. Michigan Public Health is pursuing a healthier, more equitable world through education, research, and action. And this slide gives you just a quick overview of our community by the numbers. Some of our more recent career surveys from our graduates indicate that the top 4 employment sectors are academia, consulting, private industry, and hospital and healthcare providers. When I speak to prospective students, one of the I would say biggest advantages that I share are the countless opportunities, the resources, and the networking engagement that really our students have access to. And we encourage them to take advantage of all that is available to them. Housed here at the school, we have over 40 student organizations, and the broader University of Michigan actually has over 1,600. As you guys know, engagement outside of the classroom proves to be a really significant piece of the overall student experience. And studies have shown that students who are involved in those extracurricular activities, they become more collaborative, they build self-confidence, and overall it increases their marketability in finding jobs. Also noted there is our faculty to student ratio, and definitely want you to know that we strive to support our students from all angles. As a public health student, you'll have access to support services not only in your academic department, who you'll be meeting with a lot of those groups today, but also the school where I'm housed and the university. So lots of team players here to help you be successful. Also, I want to note our alumni network. As a graduate from the University of Michigan, you become part of this community. This degree will give you worldwide recognition no matter where life takes you. As a public health student, you'll join a top-rated program with a long-standing tradition of excellence. We were founded back in 1941, and I just want to share a couple accolades with you in terms of our community. This is where Blue Cross Blue Shield was founded, where the first Earth Day was held, flu mist was invented here, and the polio vaccine was proven safe, potent, and effective. Let's take a turn and just briefly talk about Ann Arbor too. If you have visited Ann Arbor or the state of Michigan, please feel free to share that in the chat. Our students are really lucky, I think, to be able to live and learn in Ann Arbor, a lively college town that's consistently ranked as one of the best places to live in the country. Ann Arbor is home to more than 150 green spaces, and the city is exciting and it's a really diverse community. We certainly, as you can imagine, draw people from all walks of life, students, families, foodists, artists, sports fans, of course, and even outdoor enthusiasts. To give you a sense, Ann Arbor is about 35 miles outside of Detroit, and we offer certainly a mix of small town charm and metropolitan energy. And we have a lot of the same amenities that you would find in a New York or San Francisco, but at a much more affordable cost. I want to leave you during my piece today with, again, a plug. We are here to help you. We understand that this is a very, time-consuming task to put together a competitive graduate school application, and we're here to help you. This is your team to support you through that process. So please review the key staff members who are able to help you through the process. We're here today and tomorrow and throughout your whole journey until you start here at Michigan Public Health. So please lean on us, and we'll be sharing also, obviously, that contact information during the small group breakouts as well. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, who is our featured speaker from the Rackham Graduate School. If you want to give her just a moment to pull up her slides, she's going to talk a little bit about that process, and as I mentioned, take some questions. As a reminder, you can always feel free to chime in via the chat with any specific questions that you have.
Okay, just a moment here while I am not figuring out how to do this exactly. Sorry, move this over here. Can you see my screen? Can you see it? No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
can.
I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see.
Okay. So let me do here and well, we're going to see all the slides on the side because I really don't know how to go about from doing screen share how to do this. So anyway, I wanted to start by saying I'm Donna Hooprick, and I'm the Director of Admissions and Academic Records and Dissertations in the Rackham Graduate School. And just a little bit about our structure, the research degrees for all PhDs and research-oriented degrees that are graduate level go through the Rackham Graduate School. So the MS degrees and the PhDs are, under the Rackham umbrella. So when you apply, you would apply to through Rackham, but the applications are reviewed and decisions are made at the program level. So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit more generally about applying to graduate school. So I hope that this is helpful to you regardless of what direction you're going to go. So I like to start off with a little bit of a timeline, and this timeline is, don't panic if you're already past the summer of your sophomore year. There's still plenty of time, but it just is a general rule of just some general guidelines. It's time whenever, if you're in your junior year, it's time to start figuring out where you may want to apply, what schools you want to apply to, what their requirements are. Take courses that you think will be best to prepare you for applying for the programs that you want to apply to. Attend and present at research conferences. Start saving money for application fees and transcripts, because that can be quite a lot of money. It adds up. And if your particular program requires any type of entrance exams or other standardized exams, such as the TOEFL or other language proficiency exams, if you are in a non-English speaking institution, then you'll be needing to prepare for that as well. And then in your junior year, if there's an opportunity to participate in summer research programs, if there's an opportunity to do anything like that, where you have the opportunity to present research, do research, work with faculty, that's always a great experience. And you can start working on your personal academic statements. Do a GRE prep course if you're going to need to take the GRE. And then just start preparing then in your senior year, putting together your recommenders packages. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about these. Apply early if you can, attend interview or recruitment weekends. You're doing the right thing here by learning more about our wonderful School of Public Health today. And just getting information, talk with faculty, talk with family and friends about your options. And then once you apply and you get offers, April 15th is usually a pretty standard date that we hope that you'll make decisions by. So I'm going to go ahead and move on now and talking a little bit more about the application process. So graduate schools typically require, there may be some specific undergraduate courses for admission that you need to take. I mentioned that earlier. Any standardized tests such as the GRE, MCAT, GMAT. It depends on what graduate program. This is kind of a generic presentation that I have for applying to graduate school. But if there are standardized tests, you need to keep that in mind. And of course, if you're international, English proficiency exams. I'm not sure what the requirements are for our School of Public Health, but I'm sure they have that information for you. And then start gathering it from application materials. This is going to take a little while. So you're going to probably want about at least a month to assemble all your materials. If you've got multiple schools you're applying to, you're going to want to keep a record of what each particular school requires. You want to know what deadlines there are and where you are in the process and what you've completed and what you still have outstanding. And then send your application in early if you can. Some programs have early decisions or rolling admissions. It's not uncommon. A lot of them don't, but it's always good to get that in as early as you can. And we do have students who submit their application at the deadline, and it works out beautifully and it works out fine. But if you have the opportunity to turn it in earlier, that helps in case there's because there are technical difficulties from time to time, or glitches or internet issues that are out of your control that may cause problems. So try to submit things early to give yourself some breathing room. So when we're reviewing applications, or when the graduate programs are reviewing applications, there's 5 really major elements that they're looking at. One of them is that personal statement, and I'm going to talk a lot about that in a minute. Your grade point average, of course, the higher the better. Transcripts, references, and if there are any standardized tests that you need to take, that's next. So that personal statement, and I have a typo. There's a personal statement. This is critically important. You really need to articulate your preparation, your motivation, and your goals. The prime aspects to cover are your background preparation. So what have you done to get there? Why you want to pursue a particular degree and where it fits into your career plans. Explain why now is the right time for this. Why have you selected U of M, to be specific? And where do you see this taking you long-term? What are your long-term goals? So this is a really, really important statement. And I know that our review committees for all of our graduate programs read these thoroughly. So, make sure that they don't have typos like my slide does. Have someone read through it and make sure it's as clear as possible, and really, sells what you want that review committee to know about you and your goals. Grade point average, this is obvious, just as high as possible. But if you had a particular problem in a semester, not unusual, it does happen, make a brief reference to that in your personal statement. So an example might be you had a lower than expected grades during the pandemic because you were doing online, and then how you overcame those obstacles. So things do happen, and there's often very good explanations, and you can absolutely explain that in that personal statement. Transcripts. So we want to make sure when review committees are looking at these transcripts, they're making sure that you took courses that are really going to help you along the way, that they're going to help, that you've prepared yourself for this next step of graduate school, and that you didn't take the easy way out. So just make sure you follow the instructions for sending transcripts. Some schools vary in terms of what their requirements are. We ask for an uploaded official transcript. If you're international, we ask also that you do a self-calculation of convert your GPA using a tool that we provide on our application. If you're domestic, usually those are done electronically. There's very detailed instructions on our application about how to do that. And the next thing I want to talk about is references. You're going to need 3 to 5 academic references who can write about your skills as a student. You may, if you've had employment, you may want to include an employer or a supervisor if you have one in a field that's directly related to what field you're going into. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about references in just a second too. Standardized test scores. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's so few that we require anymore. Masters maybe, but PhDs no, and then we do have required English proficiency, which is a requirement for us to attest to issue immigration documents that the student that you can speak the language to help you be successful while you're a student here. So again, if you do have to take some standardized testing, we recommend that you, practice and take a class to help you prepare, whatever you need to do to get the best score on that test. But again, make sure that all the programs that you want to apply to require it before you do it. So references, I really think that this is something that would be that you really need to think about. Communication is a key in collecting a really good combination of letters. Know what you want your writer to focus on and tell them. Letters should be specific about specific experiences or qualities that you possess. And you want to make sure that you provide clear instructions to that writer. So this is some guidelines that we recommend that you give to your recommenders. We recommend to give to your a minimum of 3 weeks notice. I think is really important because these do take some time. Be clear about the deadline and impose earlier deadlines if necessary. So give your recommender plenty of time and make sure they know when that needs to be in. You need to put together a packet of information for your recommender to include your resume, a transcript, maybe your personal statement that you've written. If you wrote any papers or had any particular projects that you did in that recommender's course, you might provide that with the packet and any grades that you received, and then clear directions about where and how to send the letter. If there's an online recommendation system that they need to submit it on, make sure that there's great instructions for them. And if there's a hard copy letter required, make sure that you provide a stamped self-addressed or a stamped addressed envelope. We ask that if there's a hard copy letter, that those letters be on departmental letterhead if no special form is provided. And then if there is a form provided, make sure you fill out as much as you can of the information that pertains to you. So that, I mean, it's also a good idea just to send a polite reminder before the deadline, maybe a few days prior, to make sure that they have prepared that letter and sent it on. So I've gone through that fairly quickly, but I would like to have the, I have plenty of time here and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I will share my slides with Sarah and Mary Beth, so that they have those if you're interested in having some of these guidelines to keep. So with that, are there any questions? And I'm going to stop sharing here.
Question. What is the
Yes,
typical
I have
fee
a
for
question.
Sure.
Can I go on, please?
Hello.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so for the test of English,
Mhm.
I'm from Ghana, and
Mhm.
we speak English, and
Okay.
I'm sure most West African countries do as well, and that is
Okay.
what we are taught with in school.
Sure. Mhm.
So are there exemptions for some
Yes.
countries, or is this just purely everybody coming from Africa? I want to be sure of that, because if that is it, then maybe Rackham wouldn't be.
If you attended an English, an institution where English was the primary language of instruction, then there are exemptions. Definitely. I mean, you sound like you have very fluent English. So yes, there are exemptions.
Yeah, for PhD or everybody, MPH and PhD.
We treat it all the same, PhD and master's. Any student that's coming to the US to study, we have to attest to the fact that the student can speak English well enough to be successful before we can issue an I-20. And there are exemptions if a student attended an institution where English is the primary language. Now, that is the Rackham rule. There may be more stringent rules at the program level, but that is what the Rackham requires before we'll issue the I-20.
Thanks, Donna. That certainly is helpful. And in the specific breakout rooms, the staff and faculty who are there will be able to speak to, again, those specific department requirements. One thing that Donna did mention that I just want to make sure that is clear to this group. This past summer, the School of Public Health eliminated the standardized test requirement for all of our degree programs. So with that said, I did put that article in the chat and I will go ahead and do that again. But again, no standardized test is required among applicants. So please feel free to review that. And Donna, there are a couple questions here in the chat for you. One is from Joyce, and she's referencing a comment that you made specifically when you say download a copy. Do you mean the unofficial transcript, or can you talk a little bit more about that?
So in talking about transcripts, we do ask that an official transcript be uploaded. So this is all kind of changed when COVID hit, and we are now requiring, because we don't review all transcripts prior to it being considered for application, the application being considered. So now we do require official transcripts be uploaded. I mean, granted, it's a copy, it's being uploaded, but it has to be an official transcript. Then once a student is admitted, and they come to the university, we do ask, we do need an official final transcript like before. Does that answer your question, Joyce?
Hi, not really. The question I'm trying to find out is that the school gives the transcript to students, which is usually the unofficial transcript, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm asking, is it the transcript the school gives me, or I have to request for a specific official transcript to upload? That's my question.
That is a good question, because we ask that transcript be official.
Yes.
But I mean, we've not had anybody push back on that. If you provide what you have, that's been kind of the way it's worked. If you cannot get an official transcript issued to you for application purposes, then you'll have to upload the unofficial, but we prefer the official, so that, because what we're doing is we're taking that official transcript, we're looking at how you calculated your self-reported GPA, and we're comparing those two.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna, and thanks to our team in the chat. We definitely have some previous Rackham and admissions experts in the chat there. So they're getting to some of these questions as well.
Right.
I also did put in the chat there a link to our faculty profiles that have just recently been updated. In addition to that, also some information about funding and the cost of tuition and that type of thing as well. It looks like there is one more question here for you, Donna. My university no longer prints paper copies. Is there a way to send the e-copy to you?
Is that domestic or international? If it's domestic, we're doing those all the time. I mean, e-transcripts are the thing. And if we can, you know, if there's a way to upload something, you need something uploaded with the application. But yes, we can get e-transcripts. There's a way to do that electronically, but we need something attached to that application. But once we get the final official, once we get the final official transcript and documents, if you're admitted and matriculate, then we get that document. I mean, we can get that final electronic, if that's how they transmit. Indian instrument. Okay.
Great, thank you. Also just put in the chat there some information from the Rackham Graduate School in terms of applying to campus. So please feel free to review that. And with that being said, Donna, is there any advice in terms of if people have questions regarding the application requirements, who they should contact at Rackham, how that workflow kind of works?
Yes, we have a general RackAdmiss email account, and that's what I would recommend. It's on the last slide that I had, and so I'll when I provide those slides to you if they want those. But the email is RackAdmiss, and I'm going to put it in the chat too, just so you know it. RackAdmiss.
Yep, I think it's all there. I just copy and pasted it there, so you can see
Okay.
the phone, the fax, and the email. Perfect.
Yeah. I would recommend to email. We have a team of people that work on these emails every day. So if you've got general questions, they can answer them so much better than I can. So, because this is what they do all day. And so please feel free to send your questions if you have them, so that you have the right information.